welcome to Mikey's Video Game Madness. Today we're playing Resistance Fall of Man on the PlayStation 3. This was actually a PlayStation 3 launch title. So let's see what the PlayStation 3 had to offer when it first came out. Are you excited? I know I am. I don't know if I showed enough enthusiasm there. But this is a alternate history game, which is kind of cool. It's if World War II never happened and we got invaded by aliens instead. Are you interested so far? Hopefully that was a yes, because either way we're playing the game. Russia. You have to buy the game to find out what the story is. But the gameplay footage is free, so you get something. At least I hope you feel like you're getting something. With commentary from yours truly. So we're going to push the start button because I wasn't paying attention all that well. So for a launch title, this looks pretty nice. It doesn't have as much gloss as the other Resistance games, but I think it's a fine looking title. I like the little hybrid M1 that you have here. I essentially, before I started this video, traded in my controls for Call of Duty controls. This is kind of like a old school type of game where you do have health. You can't hide behind the corner and heal. You can the second one, but it's explained via story reasons. This does have that awkward zoom thing where you actually toggle zoom instead of like hold the button down, and then once you let go it goes back into the normal mode, which kind of takes a bit to get used to. But in the other Resistance games, all that is fixed. Call of Duty wasn't really a staple, and games weren't really copying Call of Duty's control style at this point. I mean, we can hate on Call of Duty as much as we want, but I feel like Call of Duty was really the first game to really perfect the modern first-person shooter controls. I mean, Halo controlled really well and stuff like that, but I mean, Halo didn't have like the aim through your iron sights, except with like, I think like the pistol and stuff, and maybe the sniper rifle. The textures are a little bit smoothed out depending on what you look at. A little simple, but I mean, this was a launch title. This is made by Insomniac, who also made the Ratchet and Clank games, which is kind of, oops, those are my guys. It's just kind of interesting. You see like this kiddie game that these people made, and then all of a sudden they made like this bloody type of game. Although I always felt like, even though like there was like blood and stuff in this game, it still had sort of like a cartoon comic book kind of vibe to it. There's a lot more, although the Ratchet and Clank games do get somewhat hard. I was going to say this is a lot more difficult than the Ratchet and Clank games, but the later levels in the Ratchet and Clank games do kind of get a little intense. You almost don't want to use your iron sights, at least that's how I feel. I'm going to end up dying. The control is somewhat stiff versus Resistance 2 and 3. A lot of people didn't like 3. I actually think I like 3 the best. 3 takes like aspects from the first and second game and kind of combines them of what made them good, but I don't know. A lot of people bitch that 3 isn't that great. I think it's fine. It's actually the one I have the most experience with. I have all 3 games, but I just played 3 the most. I think 3 has probably the best story or narration. I think 2 has the best action set pieces, and I think this is just a fun shooter, but I don't think it does anything that you haven't seen before. And I don't think the controls and everything were quite perfected, but I really can't hold against it. It was a launch title, and it's not a bad title by any means. It's just a little bit more difficult to control. And I'm also using a third-party controller, which if the game doesn't have like really sensitive controls and are kind of stiff, there's kind of like a dead zone in this controller a little bit. I like the controller because it's like a Xbox 360 controller, but I mean, this game was made for a first party controller that kind of has a wider range of movement with the stick, so you kind of got to be gentle with using this third party controller. I can't really explain it. It's like trying to explain something, what touch feels like, sort of thing. You really can't put it into words. It's hard to explain a sense. It just kind of makes the control stiff and harder to be accurate. I can mess around with the sensitivity, but I don't know how well that would work. But in most first-person shooters, I actually prefer this controller more. But it just depends on what the dead zone is of the controller, and you can fiddle around with the sensitivity. But I don't know how much of a difference it would make. I keep on forgetting. I keep on shooting this like a M1 Grand, but it's automatic, which I kind of feel silly now. I'm just realizing that now, but that's what happens when I try to talk and make a video. I can't remember if the last thing of health charges on its own or not. I think the third game they sort of charge. The second game you have straight up Call of Duty charging. I think this game is the most difficult out of all the Resistance games, in my opinion. You guys might disagree. You might say, well, part 2 is the hardest one. There's always going to be somebody that's going to disagree with you on YouTube. And that's only natural. Also, in this game, I believe you actually have like a straight up wheel. Wherein the second game, I think it's like most other first-person shooters at the time, where you only get 2 weapons. I guess I'll find out when we cover that game. You play this game and you remember how easy Call of Duty was. Like, this level isn't terribly hard, but it's hard when you're trying to talk. Some people can do it. I can't do it. I can't play as good as I do when I try to do a commentary. I've been tempted a few times to record the footage and then do a commentary afterwards, but it's just not the same. It's not as spontaneous. I didn't hear a boom, but I guess it blew up. So this game got Call of Duty 3 when it came out, so there was at least two first-person shooters to pick from when the PS3 first came out. The Xbox 360 had Call of Duty 2 when it came out, and the King Kong game, obviously. Unless you were an avid fan of King Kong, you would get Call of Duty 2. It was a no-brainer. Which I kind of struggle between World at War and Call of Duty 2, what my favorite Call of Duty is, and I think I always edge it to Call of Duty 2. I like Black Ops a lot too. I like most of the Treyarch Call of Duties. Even the big red one, even though it's not as good as like their other efforts for like a PlayStation 2 and Xbox game, it's pretty good. I believe they also made Call of Duty 3, which has its cool moments. I don't like the long ass cutscenes and that are disguising the loading times with these really kind of, I hate to say cheesy characters, but they come off cheesy to me. It's more whimsical. It doesn't have the gritty feel that the other Call of Duties have most of the time. There are some serious moments in it, but it almost feels whimsical and cartoony in tone versus the other Call of Duties. But I like 3. A lot of people don't. I think a lot of people don't like 3 just because it didn't come out on PC, as ridiculous as that sounds. All your weapons have like a secondary mode that I have yet to take advantage of. This one actually has this mode that'll actually follow the enemy if you shoot it with the secondary bullet. Like if he was hiding behind that corner, I could just shoot down, the bullets would follow him. Except that I'm sucking so bad, I'm scared to face the enemy. And so far, I don't think I've come across any health yet. Man, I'm doing terrible at this game, but oh well. I think this game caused some controversy a little bit when it came out, because it actually has like real landmarks in it. Some of those landmarks are destroyed, even though it's like a ridiculous concept of like aliens with a bunch of tubes hooked up to them that caused it, but whatever. What can I say? When it comes to the video game medium, people are more sensitive than any other medium I know of, and the only thing I can think of is because it's interactive. But anyway, back to Treyarch. They're supposed to be making the next Call of Duty. I would love it if they went back to the World War II games, because I think they were really getting good at them towards like World at War and even that one level of Black Ops. Like they're really good at making like the Call of Duties based in the past. I think Sledgehammer did a good job at the futuristic ones, but I think Treyarch has a knack for doing the Call of Duties that are based in the past. I'm pushing the wrong buttons. Oh fuck. Get me out of that aim mode. I'm almost dead again. should have put it on easy just for the video's sake. Although I don't know how much I would do better. Like, it's just hard for me to think and aim and shoot at the same time. The controls are a little bit weird. I'm not used to like aiming through the iron sights and having to tap it again. Usually I'm used to holding the button and then letting go when I'm done aiming, and it goes back to normal mode. Like when you're trying to peek behind the corner, aim and shoot, it's like 2 steps instead of like 1 quick step. The AI is a little bit better than most first-person shooters of the time. In this game, it's better to take your time, honestly. Sometimes you can find areas like this where I probably could have flanked them, but I didn't because I'm trying to play it in a fast-paced style, which just doesn't really work most of the time for this game. I'm just shooting glow and pellets back and forth. Oh, and you gotta hold crouch. I try to set the Call of Duty type controls the best I can, but the toggling of everything, like the crouch you have to hold down, it doesn't like switch on and off. It's like the crouch works the way I want the aiming to work, and the aiming works the way I wish the crouch would. And I accidentally shot my secondary weapon somehow, which I don't remember pushing the button, but maybe my finger leaned against the button somehow and it's super sensitive. I really don't know. Talked about flanking last time, even though it's going to be an epic fail. I'm going to try anyway. This is just the beginning of the game. This game gets pretty intense later on when you're starting to fight more of the science fiction based enemies, but I think part 2 has the best action pieces. This is kind of in the middle, and then I like part 3 because it has good action pieces, but I think the pacing's a lot better, and I think the story's more interesting. But I think the story is more interesting because of the first 2 games, and it's a follow-up, and I don't really want to reveal more, but I would definitely want to know the story of the first 2 games before I played the 3rd game, but the 3rd game is probably my favorite. This is where things get all fucked up here. Oh, they're all over the place. Watch how I mysteriously miss every enemy that I try to shoot at. Health would be greatly appreciated here. Oops. I meant to shoot it over here, but it's either I do this or I just push it a little slightly the other way and then it goes really fast. There's like, it's analog control, but it's not, there's not a lot of range in the analog control. It's either really slow or really fast. They fixed that issue in the other games, but if you're going into it like me after playing like other first-person shooters, it's going to take a while to adjust. You do adjust, but it takes some time. It takes time for me anyway. Maybe you're like prodigy with gaming or whatever, and you're not gonna have any issues. If I remember correctly, this area is filled with mines. The foliage is pretty dense for an early PlayStation 1 game, I have to say. And we subtly transition into a loading screen.
Captain, you see
It kind of looks like a World War II game, but the weapons are kind of out there. But I'm going to stop here. This is Resistance: The Fall of Man on the PlayStation 3, and you can actually get a fairly decently priced game that has all 3 games on it. It's probably 3 separate discs. I don't think they fit all the games onto one disc, but I mean, you can get the trilogy probably if you look hard enough for $20, which is a steal. They're all great games. This game, you have to remember, is a launch title, so I think they were still trying to get their bearings in the way things control, but you eventually get used to the control. Plus, I'm talking, so I'm not going to be the greatest player right now, but I think this is a fantastic, often overlooked series, to be honest with you, even though people know what it is. I think it's overlooked and not played enough, and I would suggest it to your PlayStation 3 collection, especially if you're one who has both systems and you're looking for PlayStation 3 exclusives. This series is one of the exclusives that maybe you didn't get to play on your Xbox 360, and I would recommend it. If you like first-person shooters that kind of take hints from World War II shooters and have the sci-fi element, it's different, and I definitely recommend trying it. Insomniac's a good developer. I'm kind of bummed I never got to play Sunset Overdrive, which looks like an awesome game, which is on the Xbox One. I don't have an Xbox One, and I can't justify getting an Xbox One just for one game, or even 2 or 3 games, which is about what they have that I want to play. One's not even out yet. Like, I'd really like to play Halo 5. I want to count Tomb Raider on the list, but I think that'll eventually come out on PlayStation 4. But there's not enough games. I think there's Sunset Overdrive that I would like to play. Obviously, would like to play Halo 5, like I said. And actually, the other game, I can't remember what the game's called. The game that's made by Remedy. It's coming out on Xbox One. Remedy's the people who made Alan Wake and the first 2 Max Payne games. The name's at the tip of my tongue, but I don't want you to look at this screen while I'm trying to think of what it's called. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching, and if you like this video, please thumbs up the video if you may, and please feel free to leave comments, positive or negative. If you choose to leave a negative comment, please make sure that it's constructive and you're being respectful to not only me, but to other people on the channel that are commenting. And if you haven't thought about it already, or you're trying to decide for whatever reason, feel free to subscribe. If you didn't like this video, there's a shit ton of other videos you can check out. Hopefully you'll like one of them. Thank you guys so much for your support. It means so much to me that I make content that you guys like, that I like, and it just feels good. I look forward to the emails in the morning to see what you guys like about the games that I like, and I like sharing my experiences with the game. That's why sometimes I kind of wait, if it's a popular title, to do a video of it later on, after all like the publicity and everything wears down, so I'm not doing the cliche video that everybody else is. And sometimes I think it's more interesting to go back to games once like all the popularity and all the smoke's cleared, and you can look at the game from a different perspective instead of it being that brand new thing that everybody's talking about. And I think it makes the title more interesting and more like just every other game versus like the most popular game ever. But thank you guys so much for commenting, watching my videos, or supporting the channel in whatever way you do. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. I'll talk to you on the next video. Take care. Bye.